You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the Acupuncture on Air program. It's our pleasure, as always, to have in the hot seat Heiko from the Acupuncture Clinic in Hastings. How you going, Heiko?
I'm really good, Ken, and I see that you're starting to dress up for autumn. You got a vest on as well now?
Yeah, well, I got up this morning at 5 o'clock. I went outside to put the rubbish out and think, ooh, it's getting a bit nippy.
Yeah. So we went out for a walk last night, and it was definitely... It's cooler. You know, it's New Zealand again.
Yeah, old man winter has raised his ugly head and he's on his way.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to remind our listeners before we get into today's topic, which is about Chinese herbs for polymyalgia, if we want some acupuncture, where do we come?
I'm practicing in Hastings at 206 Charles Street, and then my friend John, he practices down in Marston at 49 Church Street.
And if we want to hear your programs, of course, we can do it many ways now. We can go to the Radio Kidnappers website, www.radiokidnappers.org.nz, and we've got a whole bunch of them there. We can go to iTunes.
You go to my website, acu123.co.nz,
yep.
And there's lots of links there to information about acupuncture and how it works and what it can do.
And if anyone wants to see you in the flesh, so to speak,
just in Hastings, just around the corner, yeah. 206 Charles Street.
Or on YouTube,
iTunes. You know.
Well, we're just talking about one of your programs on YouTube. It's a funny old thing that it's an affliction that hardly anyone's ever heard of, but it's really got the most people looking at it.
Yeah.
What is it again?
Well, it's I don't even know how to pronounce it properly. I call it Duotrons, which is the ligaments of your hands tighten up. It has like a genetic background, and that's just getting a huge number of hits. So,
the internet's a funny old thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mind you, it could be just people wanting to see what you look like. Anyway, today we're going to talk about herbs for polymyalgia.
Yeah, we have spoken about this on the show before, more in reference to acupuncture. And I have mentioned there that it is a sort of an arthritic type condition, and it affects certain sort of muscle groups. It can affect the head, the upper shoulder, the back, the thighs, the buttocks, and it can often gets labelled into one of those sort of like arthritic type conditions.
Yeah. Is it arthritis, old age? Is it associated with old age, or can anyone get it?
Oh, look, I mean, I do think anybody probably can get it, but it tends to be people around 50 do start to have it, but it's more common in the 70s age group. And again, it's also more common with women. The other thing about it is that it can just suddenly appear, or it just can be a gradual low onset. So that doesn't fit any sort of real concrete pattern.
When you say it's common, if we put that into figures, like as a percentage rate, how common is it?
That I couldn't tell you percentage wise, but I mean it's probably affects 1% of the people, 2% of the people, or something like that.
Still a lot of people.
Yeah, that's still, and it's common enough because I'll often will have a patient that's coming in, and often they're usually coming in for something else. And then they say, oh, by the way, I've also got polymyalgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they just learn to deal with it, or unfortunately, they don't really sort of get much sort of hope with it with their Western medicine. There's not a great lot of effective drug suppressing type treatments out there.
Is it one of those things? I mean, we talked about irritable bowel syndrome some time back, and you said that if we can't work out what it is, we call it IBS. Is this a similar sort of thing, that if you've got a bit of an ache and you've got a bit of pain, you've got polymyalgia?
Yeah, again, it's not something that they can just pick up with a blood test or something to confirm. And again, sometimes it does get labelled into something else. Sometimes it's called temporal arthritis. And other times it has other symptoms associated with it, such as depression and fatigue, and then also what they call like flu-like symptoms. So then sometimes it's you've got some kind of post-viral imbalance or fatigue problem. So again, it's not always clear cut.
Is it with you all the time if you've got it, or does it come and go?
No, I think it's if you have it, you have it, and then you might go through phases where it goes up and down, but it doesn't sort of disappear.
Okay, well, normally acupuncture comes riding to the rescue, but this time it's not. It's not acupuncture, is it?
The other show it was.
Yeah, that's right.
But this one, Chinese herbs comes running to the rescue, and there are, as I said, there's many different herbs. Again, in a Chinese herbalist per se who's got a degree or studied in Chinese herbs generally you would study about 200 individual herbs, roughly, often more, but at least you'd have 200 as your basic sort of working repertoire. Again, 200 to 300 formulas, right, combinations, and then you have what we call, you work with a variation of a formula where you're adjusting the doses, or you're adding another herb or taking one out to tailor-make the prescription for the individual needs of the person.
So why isn't it just one mixture for a person who has polymyalgia? So
because everyone's different. You see, this is the Chinese medicine as different to the Western medicine. Western medicine is, well, okay, we've managed to label it polymyalgia, prednisone, but then you get prednisone for polymyalgia, you get prednisone for arthritis, you get prednisone for 100 other conditions. Chinese herbs is different. We would look at and say your symptoms might be more in the buttocks or more in the thighs, and that would mean that we would prescribe different herbs. You might be more tired, you might be more fluey feeling, you might be more depressed. That patient is 70, that patient is 50. All these things are taken into account that we moderate. That person might also be menopausal, so then that means that we would moderate the herbs or not put in certain herbs. That person might have high blood pressure, or that person might have irritable bowel. So then it's all changed according to the individual needs of the patient.
So how do you diagnose it from a Chinese medicine point of view?
Yeah, Chinese medicine, so we have a look at every person has like an inherent constitution, whether it's good, bad, strong, or a little bit weak. And then, of course, in terms of lifestyle and the work and the life that you've been living, you can get different types of problems associated with that. You might have overworked, you might have not had a good diet, you might have had a history of catching a lot of flus, you might have had a history, living in a cold, wet, windy place, working on a fishing trawler. So you have all these different types of environmental issues that have affected you. And then Chinese medicine, we look at that the environment itself, and talking to just three simple things: wind, cold, and damp. If you can think about those sort of three environmental things, they affect the physical body, and this is where Western medicine often will poo-poo traditional medicine. It's this hocus pocus superstition stuff. But they do know that when humidity changes, that arthritic patients will complain more of the thing. You have arthritic patients who know it's going to rain on Wednesday because their left knee is getting sore.
Yes, that's right.
And what we say is that your body's become a bit weak. Let's just say from overwork and bad diet. This weather pattern, this cold and wet, it lodges into the muscles. And then it sits there, and then it accumulates over the years. And then what happens is that then it's like a sponge. Once the sponge is wet, it just keeps attracting, more and more water.
Okay.
And then this is like the water that lodges in the muscles, and that makes it get achy, get sore, get tired, get heavy, get numbness, get tingling.
Why don't we all get it? We all get those symptoms that you mentioned in one form or another, so why aren't we all suffering from polymyalgia?
Well, I think that's the uniqueness of the body. Other people will get something else. They'll get, bloated stomach, or they'll get what we call a dampness headache. It's a headache that feels like there's a wet towel wrapped around their head. So everyone's like different, and people have strengths and weaknesses. Unlike you, that's just totally strong.
I'm a machine.
Immune to everything.
That's right. Okay, so we come along to you and we say, look, we've got polymyalgia, and last time you were going to give us a needle, but this time you're going to give us herbs. Are the herbs acting like a painkiller or no?
No, that's the thing. The herbs are not painkillers. They don't have a specific analgesic effect. I'm not saying that some herbal medicines do have that kind of effect, but in particular in this case, the herbs that we're using they're more in lines of what we say for treating damp. They're sort of like the herbs to stimulate the water to get out of the muscles, if you like. And one of them that we might commonly use is actually the plain simple pearl barley that you can get in the supermarket. It has a mild diuretic function, but it doesn't dehydrate you.
Right.
You know, and so that we say that you actually urinate out the toxins.
Yeah. What about the pain? How do we get rid of the pain then? Because obviously,
well, I think pain in Chinese is due to blockage, right? And instead of like a modern medical scientific painkiller, it's trying to switch off some connection between the brain and where the pain is, so that you don't feel it, but it doesn't actually fix the problem. Whereas in this case, we're actually working, well, what's causing the pain? And that's because there's blockage there, there's dampness there, there's accumulation of toxins there. You get rid of that, you move that, then the pain lessens. And that's why, as with treatment, there's a gradual change and decrease in the pain, as opposed to, oh, you just done this thing and let's just switch the pain off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, I'm like, oh yeah, the pain's, it's probably maybe 60% of what it used to, and my arm's not as heavy as what it used to be.
Interesting that you say you're getting rid of water. What about the fad of everyone drinking water now? You know, they're saying if you're not drinking 8 litres of water a day, or 8 pints of whatever it is, 8 glasses of water, that's what it is, isn't it? So we're putting all that water in. Are we at more risk of getting polymyalgia?
Well, remember, we have had that talk once before in the radio show about water and this modern trendy fad of drinking more and more water, and particularly in a case like this, it will hinder the prognosis. You know, it will actually make it worse, because you're basically just adding more and more water to a wet sponge.
Yes.
Or you're overwatering your already wet pot plant.
Yeah.
You know, the water's just going to keep flowing over the edge, and it's not actually going to. And people will say, oh, you know, your kidneys are flush. Your kidneys are not meant to be this big flushing machine.
Right. So what are you saying? Drink when you're thirsty?
Basically, you drink to satisfy the needs of your thirst, and you have to have a look at your lifestyle. Like your lifestyle, you're in a air-conditioned office. You think you're not, you know, jogging up and down the hallway. You're not sweating. You know, you're not like the roof tiler. Tiler outside. He definitely needs to drink more, but not you.
Okay, what are some of the simple herbs that we might be able to dig up at home?
Well, I don't know about at home, but you can certainly find them in some of the Asian grocery stores. Yeah. I know in Hastings, for example, in Heratonga Street, Asian Foods, they'll have some of these. One of them, the name of the herb is called Sangji Shen. What I'll do is I'll write that into the comments section in the YouTube, and even I'll put the link up to the shop as well, so that you can get them there. And it's basically a vine that grows on a mulberry tree, and it's commonly used. It treats many other aspects of the body and for health as well. But one of the things it can help for you know, we say strengthening the liver and the kidneys, and helping with the that dampness that's there in the joints. I've mentioned the pearl barley, so there's many different herbs that we can use, and these are some of the more simple ones that I think you could use as a home remedy.
Are we using the herbs, Heiko, as a reaction to polymyalgia, or could we use the herbs as a preventive, so that, you know, if we've got a history, for instance, of polymyalgia in our family, could we say, let's eat this stuff as we live?
Well, what's interesting, those 2 herbs that I've mentioned, and you'll see quite a number of many herbs in the Asian supermarket. Many Asian families have these herbs on a regular basis, just like in a soup at home. You know, and culturally they know, oh, this herb it gets rid of damp. This one's good for liver and kidneys. This one strengthens the stomach. This one helps digestion. So they'll have a soup, you know, at least sort of twice a week. They'll cook it up, you know, with some vegetables and some meat. Put in the herbs, so it's still, you don't put in lots and lots of herbs, so it actually still tastes good like a soup, and not too herby or too bitter, you know. And these things, I think, just as a general rule, you know, help the body, and you know, it's preventative health care, you know.
Sounds like a great idea. Okay, time for your song of the week. What is it?
I just came out the other day, because, you know, now that I've got Spotify, my daughter's put that on my phone, so I've got my new obsession now. And then I just realised, I haven't heard Supertramp Crime of the Century for ages. I mean, I used to play it a lot, like when it came out in the 70s.
Great group.
And great album, you know. And then I just picked, my favourite song is that If Everyone Was Listening, but I mean, I think, you know, that's probably a 10 out of 10, but every other track on the album is like a 9 out of 10. So
We'll soon find out.
that's the song. You know that one?
I know that one, and I know that group, and I'd love to go and see them live.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to that song, just remind our listeners, we want to come and see you again. Where are you?
Go to my website, acu123.co.nz.
Good on you, Heiko. As always, a pleasure. Look after yourself. Talk to you same time, same place next week.
You too.